Good Saturday morning. I'm in the office and I'm going to do a short live talking about my personal opinion of electric kitchen composters. And let me preface this by saying if you own one and you love it, that's great. This is just my personal opinion after having been composting several different ways for the last 4 or 5 years. And I just think sometimes the allure of electric kitchen composter is greater than the benefits. So I want to get into several different things about it. If you're new here, I'm Amanda. I'm the Ever Hopeful Gardener. I'm obsessed with organic and regenerative gardening, and I'm also obsessed with composting. I hot compost, I cold compost, I vermicompost, I bokashi compost. Is that everything? I think that's everything. All right, so let's get into it. You may have seen recently a company that makes garden beds, and I actually like this company. I work with this company. I don't like all their products though. That's okay. I like their garden beds, but they have come out with an electric kitchen composter, and they're doing a push with a lot of content creators showing it, giving it away. I was offered it and I said no. They asked me why, and I typed out an email. They forwarded it to someone in product development who responded back to me with why they disagree, and that's fine. It's okay to disagree, and it's okay for us on this live to disagree. And if you have comments, if you have one and you want to talk about it, please join in. I am not going to judge you. I am not going to make you feel bad. This is a safe space for everybody's opinions as long as you're kind and respectful. So what I'm talking about is the new Vego electric kitchen composter. And what I feel like is the biggest problem with these electric kitchen composters, you've probably seen Lomi. It's been on the market for a while. There's one also called Mill. I think it's a larger size one that doesn't necessarily go on the counter and can hold more food waste. The Vego one is let's just say all of them are very expensive, very expensive. And I get if you don't have space outside for a compost pile, this might seem like a great option. I just want to draw some attention to some of the marketing that might be difficult to decipher, and also what you actually get. So it's a bit misleading to call these composters. They do not actually produce compost. They don't. And if you read the fine print, so I've got the three brands here. I've got Vego, Lomi, and Mill. Vego calls the end product Vego Meal, and they describe it as a nutrient-rich soil amendment or compost amendment. So they're not calling it compost, even though they're calling the device a composter. Lomi calls it dirt, which I think is like not a good marketing idea. So Lomi calls it dirt, and Mill calls it dry grounds. Okay, so here's where I think they may have tried to call it compost when they first came out with these products, and I think there was pushback because it is not compost. This food dehydrator, that's what it is. It's a food dehydrator. It takes your kitchen scraps, it removes the water at high heat, it dries out the food, and then it grinds it down. There is no microbial activity unless you are adding in microbial activity. So there's another cost. I know Vego offers something called Vego tabs to add in microbial activity, but that is an additional cost to you. And I'm not even sure, like there's not a lot of info on what's in those tabs. I think Lomi also offers something that you can add to it. So you are reducing your kitchen waste. And if you don't put whatever that resulting dry grounds from your kitchen composter, if you don't put that in your rubbish bin to go to the landfill, like you are reducing food waste going to the landfill. But it depends what you do with it after that. Sorry. Yeah. So you basically are paying a lot of money to dehydrate your food. And let's talk about cost. The Vago kitchen composter is $580. It's on sale right now for $320, but it's $580, and you have to buy carbon filters continuously. So the carbon filters are going into the landfill when they have to be replaced. And if you want it to have any type of nutrition, you need to buy Vago tabs. Okay, so there's added costs onto that. Lomi costs $480. It's on sale for $400. And then you would have to buy replacement filters and whatever the microbial add-in that they offer. The mill, y'all, it's $1,000. $1,000, and you have to buy replacement filters. All right. Recession Trophy Wife asks, can it help compost or make it easier for peeps with little time to manage a true compost? I don't think it's going to help compost. It's not going to have, it's literally going to be completely devoid of nutrition. It'll just be dehydrated organic matter that you add to your compost pile or your garden. I think there are alternatives, and I'll talk about those. So if you are small space and you are looking to reduce your food waste, I have 3 alternatives for you. They're not all perfect, but they are worth trying, I think. Let me just scroll back and see if I have any other comments. I would love to talk to someone who has one and has used it for a while to see what they think. My good friend Heather messaged me when I said I might do a live yesterday to talk about it. And she said that she had one, I don't know the brand, and it was complete garbage. I don't think she has it anymore. And guess what? It's gone to the landfill. So once this electric device, which let's be honest, I don't feel like electric devices are made to last like they used to. Once it is done, like if it's, you can't repair it anymore and it's just done, it's going to the landfill. So, and we haven't talked about the fact that they use energy. So they take energy to make it, it's made out of plastic and metal. So there's energy made to make it, and it uses electricity to run. So it's one of the least sustainable ways that you can compost and reduce your food waste. Steffi says, I do think there's a benefit of keeping food waste in the landfill. I'm hoping you meant keeping food waste out of the landfill, but I do think there's alternatives. There's just a lot of alternatives that are free, that don't cost you money, that don't require energy, that don't require replacement filters, that are having to be shipped to you. There's just, in my mind, I can't see a reason why spending that much money would outweigh the benefits. All right, MKN8410. I can't imagine that the energy expended in production and use can be offset by the decrease in food waste. Better to be more purposeful about using food. Yeah. All right, so let's see. Rose Justine. Good morning, beautiful. No. Okay. Okay, Steffi. Okay, so Steffi did mean she thinks there's a benefit to keeping food waste out of the landfill, and there is, but we'll talk about those other options. So if you have the space to have a compost pile in your yard or like your property, it really doesn't take up that much space. You need like 3 feet by 3 feet. That's it. A compost pile, I could do a 3 feet wide by 3 feet deep by 3 feet tall compost pile, and you just add your kitchen scraps to that. You cover it up real well to reduce the raccoons or anything digging in it, and you just let it sit. You don't even have to turn it. You can just kind of keep building it. Wood chips or shredded dry leaves and your kitchen scraps, and that is one option. If you don't have space for that, like maybe you're in an apartment or whatever, you can bokashi compost. And to be fair, bokashi composting is not technically composting, it's a pre-compost input, so you're fermenting your food, and then you can add it to a soil factory to rejuvenate tired soil in like a big plastic tub. You can bury it in your garden beds. You can bury it in the ground. So bokashi is an option. And if you want more info on that, and doing that in like an apartment, my friend Kira from Gardenwell, New York, she bokashi composts in her New York apartment. Okay, so she proves it can be done. Another option is a worm bin. A worm bin does not smell. You feed your worms your food scraps with, you know, the caveat of there's some things they don't enjoy eating. And I have had my worm bin in my house. Like, it doesn't smell. You can keep a worm bin in a closet in your apartment and feed your kitchen scraps to a worm bin, and then you are rewarded with vermicompost, which is even better than compost. Sorry. Okay. All right, so we've talked about the cost of the kitchen composters. We've talked about the energy use. We've talked about the, like, you know, cradle to grave. It is eventually going in the landfill, as are all the carbon filters. So it has a lot of negatives. I do have, so this book, Compost Coach by Kate Flood, she's Compostable Kate on Instagram. And this book is linked in my Amazon storefront. This book is awesome about composting. And she has a whole page on electric composters. And she and I agree on all the things. She does list like the pros, like she's very well balanced, is that it does prevent food waste going to the landfill, but only if the end product gets buried, not composted. Y'all, actually, one of these kitchen composters, I don't remember which one, you can sign up for a subscription to pay to send your dry grounds from the composter back to the company for them to put somewhere. So then there's another added cost. If your house is solar powered, then the energy to run it won't matter. And it's easy to use. Those are the only positives. If you were interested in composting, I highly recommend this book. And she talks about composting in, you know, small spaces and all the things. And if you wonder, like, who am I to, like, have an opinion on this? I have done a lot of research. This is another great book, Teaming with Microbes by Jeff Lowenfels. If you want to learn more and be able to feel like you can form an educated opinion on the various forms of composting and these gadgets that they're advertising to us, I highly recommend this book also. There was one thing I wanted to do. I wanted to tell you this. This bothers me. I feel like the majority of the companies marketing these electric kitchen composters, one of their like taglines in their description is like, avoid smelly smells and bugs. And it's like, I don't know. Like, if you're composting correctly, there's no smell except an amazing organic, like, forest floor smell. And the bugs help compost. Like, the bugs are supposed to be there. Like, if you're trying to avoid bugs, I don't know. Like, and then, you know, one of them said, like, avoid bears. I get it. Like, if you live in a place where bears are a problem, but I don't think the majority of the United States has to worry about bears. So I get really frustrated when they make it sound like regular composting is smelly and full of bugs. I mean, the bugs are like roly-polies and millipedes and sometimes ants. It's not like Pigpen from Charlie Brown, where you've got a pile and it's just buzzing with flies and disgusting. It's like worms. It's like good stuff. So I get really annoyed with that. All right, let me check my computer and see if I've forgotten anything that I wanted to say. Okay, there's one other option. All right, you don't want to do a worm bin. You don't want to do a bokashi bin. Another option is that a lot of cities have programs where, I think DC has one where it's called Food Loop or something, and they come around and do like pickups. Like, so you might have to drive somewhere, but like they do pickups of people's kitchen scraps and then they compost it. And then, you know, when you're part of this food loop, you get the end product compost, some of it. So there are a lot of programs where you can find somewhere to send your food scraps that is not the landfill. Elizabeth Kathleen, we have space, but we just have one of those black compost bins. We throw in our kitchen scraps and garden yard clippings and just leave it. That's awesome. There are so many ways to compost, and there are ways to compost in small spaces. I just, I can't imagine. I mean, $500, $580, y'all, that is so much money. Think about the plants and the seeds you could buy with $580. All right, I don't think I have any other comments, and I don't see any questions in the question bubble. Steffi, grown in New England, we have one in our neighborhood, but it costs $40 per pickup for a 2x5 gallon containers. That is ridiculous. Well, I mean, everybody might not be ridiculous to someone else. Honestly, we do get lots of different insects that some people may not like to see, but we have the space and they're far away from the house. Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind any of the insects in my compost. And if you ever see what you think looks like a maggot, it's more likely a black soldier fly larva, and they are some of the best composters on the planet. They are not bad. All right, we're going to end it there. That way you can rewatch it. I'll answer any questions that people put once I post it live. Yeah, thanks for joining.